All right, guys, good morning. It's about 5:45-ish or something like that. I'm sitting in this parking lot really just for a couple hours until I go into work. But today's question is the same question that I asked my youth group yesterday, and the question is, crap, I don't remember. The question is really, what determines a person? Is it their situation that they're in, or is it how they handle the situation and what they do with it? Is it how much money they have, or what they do with the amount of money that they do have? I think too many times us people kind of think it's the first opposed to the latter. What people have or where they are in life. It's that how they conduct their life, what they do with what they have, and how they adjust to their situations or handle their situations. But it really almost has zero to do with what they have or where in life that they are. To me, what determines a person is, like I said, it's what they do with what they have and how they handle the situations that life or God places on them. And I think a lot of times we get it twisted. We start thinking about, oh, I wish I had more. I wish I had more. If only I had more, then I would do more. But with the little bit that you do have, what are you doing with it? We see life and different things that we go through as, oh, I always need more and I always need more. But there's always going to be more. If you always look for more, you're always going to want, there's no limit to more. How much more is enough more? Because it's the same thing. There will always be more, and there will always be tomorrow and a yesterday. But if you set a limit or a goal that you want to achieve or strive for, then that's completely different. And you can say, okay, I got to that mark. Now I'm cool and I'm content. I got to the life I want to live, and now I'm cool and content. Instead of always saying, oh yeah, I need more in every situation. I need more money. I need more time. I need more of this or more of that. But it's not about the more that you need. It's about what you handle with the amount that you have. If we take it into the biblical context, we got Job. Job went through his life and was one of the wealthiest people in the beginning of the story of Job. And then Satan basically goes to God like, hey, let me test Job real quick. And God's like, yeah, go ahead, test him. I'll give you permission to test Job. And that's basically what the whole rest of Job is about. The whole rest of Job is about Satan testing Job. Not necessarily tempting him. Well, in a sense, tempting him. But mainly testing him and seeing if he can shake his faith. He loses his house, he loses his family, he loses his livelihood, he loses his health, he loses his money, his sheep, but he never loses his faith in God, and that's something that we got to focus on. Although his wife told him he should curse God and die, and his friends were talking bad about God, Job's faith was never shaken. And if you focus on the end of the story, what you notice is that Job's friends basically make God angry. God talks about how his heart burns for anger towards the three of his friends that were talking wrongly about God. And God doesn't want us to talk badly about him, which brings me to the other point that I brought up with my youth group, and that's the fact that all of us represent something or someone that's bigger than just ourselves. No matter who you think it is, or if you don't think that you represent somebody, you do represent somebody. The question is, how do you represent them? And where and when, and what exactly is it that you do that represents them? If somebody today took your life and wrote it down and just assumed that that's exactly how your mom was, or your dad, or whoever you look up to the most was, would they think that that person's good and godly and the person who they actually say they are or that they actually are? Or will they think better of them? Or will they think worse of them? A lot of us are, sometimes if you think about it and really take a step back, we might be worse representations than we actually should be to the things that we look up to the most, or the things that we ought to hold at a very high regard. In God's standpoint, for instance, a lot of us don't do justice of displaying his love and his kindness and his forgiveness and all the attributes that make God God. We don't do a good enough job really amplifying those things. Too many times we more or less amplify the things that the devil is, and then we claim to be really great Christians, and then we knock other Christians and we knock other people, and it just becomes more and more of us pouring in and adding more hatred to the world instead of adding more love to the world, because that's the only thing that can beat hate. And hate is a huge thing in this world right now. You got a lot of people just hating a lot of people. Like, there's racism, yeah, there's prejudiceness, there's feminism, there's all this other things that go into all this amount of exclusions and hatred and everything like that. But the Bible calls us to be one body instead of having all these separate bodies and everything like that. Somebody wrote down our characteristics and how we act and wrote that down. We should be able to at least display to a degree what God is, what God's love is, and everything like that. They should also be able to do the same with our parents. Even if they weren't good parents, people should think that our parents are amazing. Like, my mom was good, and I feel like I've done a good job of displaying who my mom is and what my mom is. Even though I don't really talk about her too much, the way I carry myself makes people believe that she's a great person, which she is, but I don't have to tell them. My dad, on the other hand, if I didn't tell people that I didn't grow up without a dad, people would probably think that I grew up with a dad that loved me, which I kind of did, but it wasn't my biological dad. I had different father figures that I grew up with that poured a lot into my life, and I feel like I represent them well. So the question that you guys should ask yourselves is, who are you representing, and how well do you really represent them? How well do you represent yourselves? The other thing is, what the heck? The other thing is, how are you handling your situation? How are you handling the situation that you are in? That's a pivotal question that you guys can answer to yourselves. If you want, you can comment below or reach out to me personally. But how are you really handling that situation that you're in? Whether it's the fact that you have a lot of money or less money, or you're homeless, or you're broke, or your car just broke down. How are you handling that situation? Because everybody in the world is at some point in some time going to come up with some sort of situation that's not how they wanted it to be. Not everything goes as planned. Actually, most stuff doesn't go as planned and goes hard left or hard right compared to what we would have dreamed it to be. But it's how you handle those hard left turns and those hard right turns of getting pulled over or getting a ticket or your house catching on fire. It's how you handle those situations and what you do in those times that really defines who you are. And even then, sometimes you can have a bounce back from that, and it's not the only defining thing in your life. It could just be a defining thing in that moment, and you can always grow and change from that. But really think about the situations that you're in now or were in the past, and just develop a way that you can grow from those situations and find a lesson and a blessing in every situation that you can go through, good or bad.